And screen share. Screen 1. Alright. Chat. Will I still be dropping a lab? Yeah, that should automatically happen. I'll still be dropping a lab. So, will be similar to the exam in class. Is there going to be a practice final? Yes and yes. It's going to be similar to the exams you've been having so far. There's going to be a practice final, yes. So, you know, there's, again, it's going to be, the exam 3 is going to be most similar to exam 2 in the sense that there's just going to be a couple of questions. I feel I've made them a bit easier and I'm giving them more direction. So, like, 5 points for this, 5 points for this, 5 points for this, and it's kind of directions as to how you should code it up. Like, when I say, so a bit more direction there. Remember, you shouldn't have to use the input function at all during your exam, right? That's just not the way you should use. If you're taking in stuff, it should be taken in as a parameter. So, when's the last day to submit textbook assignments? To be honest, I'm not going to look at whether or not it's completed or not until, I'm not going to look at whether it's been completed or not until after the final. So, you know, and if you can, you know, I can make grade changes freely until the end of the semester. So just be sure to get it. So I'm probably going to do it I'll probably start grading that weekend. So aim to have it done by the final.
I'm pretty sure that I've made it not crooked.
Next, that's a great question. We've gone over it multiple times in class, but it's a great question. I don't know when, because of course I don't.
Here we go. Let's get you out of the water.
Yeah, it's 4:30. So yeah, it's the Thursday. Let's see. It is the Thursday after from 1 to 3, according to our documents.
We need to go wash your hands.
Okay.
He wanted.
Yeah, so it's the Thursday after this one. So
And I had
everything.
cheese and crackers. And he wanted my cheese
Expect
and crackers.
one turtle question.
And he
Expect
just
a.
all over the place.
I can do a review session for the final on the Tuesday before, sure. I can create a. I can do an overview of the practice exam.
Are you a fish?
1 o'clock on Thursday.
Are you a big
Wait. Sorry. Exam 3. It's at our normal time because it's during our normal class time.
Bye.
Okay. So,
Hey, look, it's Murphy.
you know. It's the exam 3 is optional only in the sense if you like your first two, if you like the grades of your first two grades. No, it's not the final. Exam 3 is not the final.
You need to go wash your hands.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Get me out the water.
Your hands
I can't give the final early.
are making my hands feel dirty.
So exam 3 is exam 3, and then the final exam is its own thing.
Get out the water.
Can we go wash your hands?
Okay. Jason sent me another email to remind me. I'll get it to it tonight. Okay. I thought I had taken care of it, but apparently not. Okay. Yes, and I'll send an email I'll send a final exam email upcoming to take care of that. Right now I'm just focused on exam 3.
You want me to turn your TV back on?
Okay. So, like I said, I'll schedule some time to review for the final exam if you guys. Well, they can't change it. Not that I've seen. I've not seen anything that says they can change when their finals are. I'm doing my finals when it says so. Then complain to the dean. That's what you do. You forward any messages you get about that to the effect to the dean, and sit because there are rules in place because otherwise you get situations where you're going to be taking exams at the same time as other people. Yeah, no. Thank you, Grace. All right. Okay. So, yeah, if you've got a professor changing when those are, that shouldn't happen at all. Okay, because it's very clear as to when the final exam block is set up. Okay, and there's actually, like, specific things about, like, can you give the exam during a study day? You can. All right? So, let me go ahead and start working on reviewing this. Okay? So, let's go ahead and see. So, we've got pairs of regular expressions. So, we're going to be basically, so if there's going to be questions that are auto-graded during the exam, it's going to be these questions, which are basically tell me if these pairs are equivalent. In other words, do they match the same exact thing? Are they saying the same thing, or are they just rewritten the same way? Okay. So, second. There we go. So here we've got AB plus. So type out some example strings as to what that would match. Would match AB. Mm-hmm. I think Tanner has the idea there. Yep. So basically it matches any sequence of A's and of AB's next to each other. Okay, and it matches at least one of them. Now the question is, does the right one do the same thing as the left one? So we've got AB star followed by an A followed by a B. Okay? AB star means what? 0 more of. So 0 more of these followed by 1 AB. So these two effectively do the exact same thing. Right? So those two are equivalent. Make sense? All right. What about AB star versus AB in parentheses star? What's the big difference? Oh. Well, the big difference here. Yep, it's B. So in this one, we've got AB. So this can match null string AB, 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 and so on and so forth. Whereas this one matches A, AB, ABB, ABBB, ABBB, ABB, you know, and so on and so forth. Just a single A. So these two are different. What about these two? This says A or a sequence of B's. And this also is A or a sequence of B's. So these two are equivalent. The question there is, wait, does the AB apply to, you know, what does the plus apply to? And it applies to the B. These two are not equivalent because this is invalid. Okay, so expect some questions along this line, along the lines of this on the exam, because they're ones I can ask you that aren't like, no, the first one and the third one were equivalent. Right? Unless I'm wrong about this one. I'm pretty sure I'm right about it. So these guys for the exam, right, expect some true-false questions. Yeah, the first one's totally equivalent. Yes, this is the review for the third exam. So expect questions like this on the exam because they're easy for the auto grader to deal. They're true-false questions, and they're not. And normally I'd ask you, hey, what does this regular select the one of these that the regular expression matches, and you could just simply pump that into regexer. So yeah, the plus needs to have at least one. But if you notice for the first one, the plus means at least one. But for the second one, over here, this means at least 0, and then we have 1 extra added to that. So it turns into effectively at least 1. Like, I don't know. Not that, I mean, I'm going to try to make it so that basically that it's, I mean, no more than 10. No more than 10 questions. It's going to be a short exam as well. I'm going to try to make it short. So, code. Write a script that, given a text file, finds and returns a list of all the superhero words in it, which are words that end with man, woman, boy, girl, such as Supergirl or Batboy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can take her.
To clean up the couch. Before Murphy does.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create exam3.py. Okay, so write a script that, given a text file, finds and returns a list of all the superhero words in it, which are words that end with man, woman, boy, or girl. So let's go ahead and write something. So basically what we're going to look for is a bunch of string. So let's first create our regex for that. So import re. Don't worry if you don't import it on the exam, that's fine. So re.compile. So we want it to basically be and I'll just be verbose about this. Any series of words that, and if it want, well, I'll go ahead and actually make it words. So any series of A to Z right? Any of those that end with boy. It's fairly straightforward to do it like this. Boy, girl, man, woman. And that creates our super regex. And now the reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want to deal with groups. But basically it's looking at, hey, we've got all these things that end with those. But if it's going to end, and I mean, yeah, if it doesn't end with that, then there's things we can do. So, and there's multiple ways to create a correct answer with regex, which is what makes it pretty nice. You can also accidentally match more things than you want. So, you could use the $, I guess, but $, would be like end of a line or end of a string, and that really depends on what you're doing. You could use the $, but for right now, what I'm going to do is there's a lot of correct ways to do this. It would match boy. Yes, it would match regular boy girl. And yeah, it would match boy girl, etc. And yes, I could put it in parentheses, but if I'm going to be doing that, that creates a group. And I don't want to create a group right now. So now there's ways around of getting a group, but basically all I want to do is text is equal to read. It's harder to deal with for me. There's nothing wrong with it. So open file. This is actually going to be very short. File.txt. There's nothing. You just have to, just when you use the find all method, which is what I'm about to do, it can get a bit tricky. So open.file.txt. Read. And now what am I going to do? It's actually going to be fairly straightforward. Words is equal to... I'm going to read this, which will store the entire thing in a single string. So now I can parse the entire string by using superregex dot find all. Capitalized or not, I always forget. Find all. And let's go ahead and create a superfile.txt. Oh, I'm not in the right directory. Boo. That's not too hard. So Andrew, classroom, ITP, superfile.txt, and let's go ahead and get a... Okay, Andrew, classroom, superfile.txt. There we go. And now we'll call it just superfile.txt. Right? So often you might want to create something to test it. Okay. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, it does nothing because of course it doesn't. I didn't tell it to print anything. Superboy, Supergirl. Boom. Now, if we did it like... Now, if we did it with using groups, like so. Alright, so we could put this in a function and return the list if we wanted to. But if we did it with man, boy, we do it like this, it just when you're using a group like that, it just returns boy, girl. So what you really need to do in that case is combine your groups like that, or do two groups like that. So that was the issue with groups. And I think you can write, there's the syntax you can use to say it's not a group I want to capture for this. I just want to put in parentheses. But now we end up with Superboy, Supergirl, and what we would have to do is just simply say for word in words, print dot black magic here, join word. This says join all the things in here in this list together using this in between. I went over it like once, unfortunately. It's useful. But if I were to put 5 exclamations point, it would do that. It would join all these separate things in Word together using the 5 exclamation points as the glue, so to speak. Okay. But as you can see, it's very short and fairly easy to write, even though I took it pretty slow. So it says to return it, so... Whoops. Def super names dot... Yes, I am. And yes. Super names, file name. And then I mean, if I want to be exact about it, there. This R, this is the file type saying to put it in read only to read mode as opposed to write mode. This read says read it into a string. So this just simply dumps it into a string. Notice that I didn't loop through the text at all. This literally just takes it and Okay. Okay. So, yeah, next question. Which of the strings does the following regex match? So 1 star 0 star 1 star 0 plus. Okay. So what is this saying? So describe what the above regex is looking for. So let's go ahead and do that first. Right? So what it needs, I mean, and this is going to get into the funny thing about regex is that it is accidentally a 4,000 level thing because it touches on what's called automata theory, right? The idea here is that basically we can go from state to state and just output stuff. So I'm going to just create a simple flowchart, which is called a discrete finite automata, but it's a good way of doing this. And this is not the answer for that, but what this answer is, give me a second before I start drawing, is that it is looking for, you know, can you guys hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know, accidentally unplugged my microphone. So, what this above regex is looking for... Where's my annotate button? Why can't I annotate? This is actually kind of annoying. Normally I can... Why can't I draw on the screen? Where's my screen drawing? Like, seriously, normally I get the ability to... Okay. Like, right. Am I being dumb? Yeah, really interesting. Okay, well, scratch that idea. What this is looking for is at least zero. Is looking for at least 0 ones, and then at least 1 0, followed by an optional 1, and you're definitely going to have a 0 at the end. So we know that this won't work and this won't work. You need at least 2 zeros, right? What's the smallest string that this guy can what's the smallest string this guy can produce? Well, we can leave out all the ones, right? This is some sequence of ones, 0 more of them, followed by some sequence of zeros. So we've got to have at least 1 0 here, followed by a single 1 or 0. So think of it this way: you got you got 0 to a bunch of ones, followed by 1 to a bunch of zeros, and the string can end with either 1, 0, or it can end with 0. So let's go ahead and see which of these follow the rules. This does not follow the rule because you need at least 2 zeros. This has 2 zeros. That's perfectly fine. 1 0. So we've got at least 1 0. So we've got 1, a 0, and then 1. Yeah, that one's fine, and then 0. All right, this is a fairly easy one. I'm not going to... sorry. It's fairly hard if you don't have a computer. But if you do have a computer, it's redonkulously easy, so it's probably not going to be on the exam, but it's good exercise, and you should practice something like this. So a bunch of zeros followed by a 1 0. That works. 1 0, you need to have at least 2 zeros, so that don't work. A 0 with a bunch of 1s and then a 0? Nope, because in between the zeros, you can only have... in between the zeros, you can only have a maximum of 1 1. And then it has to end with a 0. 1 1 0 0. That works. 2 1s over here, followed by a 0, followed by the 1 that doesn't exist, and then a 0. And then 1 is not going to work. Okay. If you need to check them, just dump them into regexer. But let's see. To review, this one worked, this one worked, this one worked. This didn't. This didn't. And this one did. Alright, I like this one. Full disclosure, I totally went to, went to Google and said and looked for regex exam questions, which is actually a lot harder to do because, as I mentioned, regular expressions are typically taught if they are taught in an exam. We've answered that already multiple times. It's Thursday, so this regular expressions are typically taught at like a 4,000 level class if they're taught in school. I don't think that's right. I think they should be taught as first 1,000. But if you teach regular expressions, they're like, oh, you gotta teach automata. You gotta teach you've got to teach deterministic finite automata, and you don't have to. Regex are just useful tools on their own. So it's a lot of fun. But you end up getting some exams with fun stuff. But over here, we've got this question. Create a regular expression that will identify all the integers where the digits are not in numerical order. Right? When I ask you for a regular expression, that means I don't need the code. I don't need you to compile regex. I don't need Python code. I just want the regular expression itself. So I want a regular expression that will identify all integers where the digits are in numerical order. Allow the empty string. For example, 0, 1, 4, 4, 5, 7, 8, 8, 9 should be matched. But 8, 9, 5, 3 should not. This is actually fairly easy when you figure out what it's asking and the easiest way to construct it. Right? It has to be... Because what is this? It's asking for it to be in numerical order, right? This was not numerical order, but this is. And to allow repeats. So we've got 0, so we've got a 0 followed by 1, followed by multiple 4s. So what we could do is fairly straightforward. Right? This regex is, right, some number of zeros followed by some number of 1s, followed by some number of 2s, followed by some number of 3s, followed by some number of 4s, followed by some number of 5s, followed by some number of 6, followed by some number of 7s, followed by some number of 8s, by some numbers of 9s, and that's it. So that will match anything where the digits are in numerical order. Does that make sense? No, you shouldn't use the /b on this. It's just saying match a string where all the integers are, because we're just looking for this one. I mean, yeah. So somebody brought up /b, which is a super useful one that I didn't go over in class, but it's /b is word boundary, so it matches stuff like spaces. So let's go to regexer. So let's just go ahead, zoom in. /b, word boundary. So beginning or ending of a string. It's boundary A. So this matches only A's at the beginning of word and stuff. So it's okay. So if you want to be super exact, you can put it between /b's. But really, I'm just looking for this sequence. And if this sequence happens to be inside of another sequence, that's fine. But the point that I'm sorry, I lost my chat window. The point that whoever that was trying to make, cancel, was essentially that that this would match. So yeah, the point that Tanner I think was making was that essentially that without the /b's, we would match 8, 9. So that's one thing we could do. We could say /b and /b to say basically this is a self-contained number. Right? But basically /b is a way of just basically it's a less strict version of this. Basically where this says beginning or ending of a string. So beginning, end of string to end of string. What /b is saying is it's saying anywhere that you would use some kind of divider for words like a spaces, that's what a /b is. Write a function called makeUsername that generates a username from the given suffix. From the given name and suffix as demonstrated by the examples below. You can assume that the format of the name is either first name, last name, or first name, middle name, last name. That's useful. Don't need to assume that, but that's super useful to assume that. Okay. So here, one thing that I've made sure to do is give you plenty of, for some questions, I'm just making sure I can give input-output pairs as well as the arguments that I expect on the exam. Normally I do that, but I didn't do it in last exam because I didn't think to do it to make it nice looking. So anyway, here we go. So then you'll miss out on some points. Depending on the question. Question was, what if you answer some exam questions, but you don't use the regex? Some of them are like 20 points, and it's 5 points to do this, then 5 points to do this, and 5 points to use the regex, and then 5 points to do this. So you can lose 5 to 10 points per question depending on it. So you want to know your regex. This one isn't necessarily to do... This one doesn't actually necessarily have to deal with regexes, though. I don't think. So, I mean, really what we're doing is we're taking in 2 arguments. Yeah, this one wasn't... I kept it in because it was there last time, but it doesn't really have regular expressions. Some of the stuff is just plain up string manipulation, but I'm pretty explicit about when you need to use regexes and when you don't. Or when you need to use regexes. Yeah, there wasn't. I don't think there was a regex for this one. So there wasn't a regex for this one. It was just making sure you use the string stuff correctly. All right, so let's go ahead and get the. I mean, you could do the regex for this one, and it's cruel and unusual, but might as well. I believe that most of all the questions are regex. I tried to focus when I was writing the exam. I think last night I was focusing on regex, so there shouldn't be some like this. But if there are, I mean, you can use regex to solve this. To solve a bunch of this by using the group capture. So we've got a name. So you will have to. I mean, the file manipulation will be in the sense of the question that I told you would be on the exam, where you have to output and write to a file. So, be sure to be able to do that, and you'll want to be able to read a file. So, so you'll want to be using regexes on either, depending on the question, it's going to be a regular expression on either strings or files. So, here, we've already imported RE, so let's do re.compile. And we're looking for, so here's how we use regular expressions, even though they really aren't suited for this. We've been told what the form, that we can assume that name is first name, last name, or first name, middle name, last name. So,
I'm sorry that she did that.
regex.compile r, you're going to have a letter for your first name, and then some number of other characters, followed by a space, right? Followed by a space, and then followed by the same for a last name. It's going to be this as well.
Happy Feet loves to lick.
Actually, all we need is that. Boom. Good. Right? Sorry, my son is quite distracting sometimes. So, he's very upset at the dog licking things right now. And what this is going to do is that this will capture the first letter of the name. So, I'm going to just go ahead and print name. So this is just showing how to use it with regex. Right? And here the groups come to our help. Name regex dot find all in name. And now if I pass it make username Andrew Benjamin Rosen. Oh. A 823. I get my initials ABR, right? Because what it did is that it said look for a word character followed by some sequence of other word characters. Then find all of them. So found Andrew Benjamin Rosen. And it found them all. And specifically I said, but what I'm interested in is the things that are in parentheses, specifically the group. So I've got A, B, R. So this will give me the initials. Yep. It's just a random number that's put into the file. It put in to make a username. Yep. That's why you're not supposed to figure out what it is. You're just being provided the name and the number. Okay, so there's your initials. And then what we want to do is to make our output. It's going to be an empty string. And then for letter in initials, I could use the join method, but I'm just going to go iterate through it. Output plus equals letter dot lower to lowercase it. And then it will be posted on GitHub, totally. But I'm not sure about GitHub. So return, put plus strn. And now, of course, it won't do anything because I didn't tell it to. And there we go. So that's how you can use regexes to find that one. To solve this without regex, split and then grab the first letter of each of these. You're still confused as how /w plus gets you the first letter of each word. So what I did is I used the group capture. If I just did this, it would just grab me the entire thing. But when we surround something in parentheses, it basically says, that's the part of the regex I care about. That's the part of the regex I care about finding. That's the group of letters in the pattern that I care about finding. Specifically what this is that this is saying, yeah, we've got some sequence of letters, but what I really care about is that first letters. Do we have to use this using regret? You have to have a lot of regret using this. Do you have to do this using regex? I didn't specify in this problem that you had to use regex, so no. But somebody said they couldn't figure out the regex for this, and I'm like, well, I didn't intend to. But I think a bunch of but I didn't say you couldn't, so, you know. I mean, you don't have to use regex for this one. This one was a bit trickier than I would want for using regex. What I would do to not use regex is just simply say name.split. You know, so name is equal to name.split, right? Split it onto spaces, and then so then initials is equal to empty string for part in name name initials, just add the first letter of each name. Dot append part 0. So that's how you could do it without regex. It's just a matter of, the thing about tools is that I don't want, unless I say you have to use something, then don't. And you don't have to use it. How would you write, so like this one, I say, how would you write a regex that matches a sentence where the first word is either Alice, Bob, or Carol, the second word is either eats, pets, or throws, and the third word is either apples, cats, or baseballs, and the sentence ends with a period. The regex should be case insensitive. It should match these without matching these. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a string to do this. Okay, so we want to eat apples, pet cats, throw baseballs, throw apples, and Bob eats cats. So first off, to make it case insensitive, one thing you could do is that you could mention that doing a compile with an I, like put my regex here and put an I there, you can make it case insensitive. Or, you know, we'll just have to make it, so that's the easiest way to make it case insensitive. I'm not really going to test about case sensitivity on the exam, though. So, and there's one on here I'll go over something that's not on here, but is a very close cousin to what's going to be on the exam. So, okay. All right. So, let's go ahead and say that. So first off, so this is just 3 parts separated by spaces. So Now we know that it's got to end with a period, so boom. That's how we end it with a period. Remember that. And then the last word is either going to be apples, cats, or baseballs, right? So apples or cats or baseball, right? Period. And feel free to use parentheses all you want over here, right? It's just the regex just has to match the string. It doesn't have to like find stuff within it, so that's fine. Then that's going to be have a space, right? The middle part is eats or throws or pets, and then another space, and we've got finally it would start with Alice or Bob or Carol. So Alice, Bob, or Carol eats, throws, pets, apples, cats, baseballs. Ends with period. But it was lower. So this is all lowercase and it's not case sensitive. So what I'm going to say is basically to compile. And basically, I'll just simply say, to add on to my answer, compile with re.compile regex so you can make it match case insensitive as an option. If you're trying to make it case insensitive in the regex itself, it's a real pain in the butt. Like trying to do, because then you would have to do Alice, and I mean, if you're going to be really case insensitive, and basically any kind of permutation thereof, which is a lot of them. Okay. All right. So this one, right, is going to be similar to what's on the exam. And yeah, hopefully you found out that these were links for the other one. But let's go over this one. And then I'll do the... yep, so here we go. So let's go ahead and see. Write a function that, given a file name, creates a new file with the exact same contents as the original file, but with all the phone numbers, such as this. So we give you the format for the phone number. It's been replaced with... that would be... So, upper question. When I ask you how to write a regex or give me a regex, this is more than enough. This is enough to answer that question. Okay. So when I say, give me a regex, that's all I want. And I wouldn't ask you to do case-insensitive stuff on the exam. I know I'm not. I'm being very specific about what I want on the exam. Okay. So write a function that, given a file name, def expunge, given a file name, will create a new file that has the exact same contents as the original file, but with all the phone numbers replaced with private. Okay, so let's make so that we can test it, right? Let's go ahead and write our own file. Phone number test.txt, copy that, then hit enter. So now let's go ahead and create some of our phone numbers. So my name is Andrew, and my phone number is 111 space 231 dash 23. So it should be 555 231 11. But if you need view, edit. Actually, I'll just use spaces or enters. But if you need to reach me, you can call me at 222 555 dash 3126 to try my cell phone. Yeah, that's got 2 phone numbers, so that's... Will the regex be a major portion of the final? I have no idea. I haven't written the final yet. I'll find out. So, I'll know, but it will be a portion of it. I mean, it's probably going to be... And it's going to be useful. I mean, there's going to be a number of problems like this one that will be useful for tying stuff together like that. Okay. So now go back to here, file name. Open. File name. Read. So, text. For line in text. All right, so we're going to go through that line by line, and then let's go ahead and say our output is equal to open file name, and let's give it our file name. We want a new file, so let's call it phone results .txt. If you forget a file name, doesn't matter. I'm going to put it into write mode. Now for line in text, what are we going to do? We are just going to simply read that line. Okay, we're going to take that line. Okay, and then we need to create our regex for the phone number. Phone regex is equal to the following. re.compile. Okay, re.compile. So phone numbers were use the parentheses and then have 3 digits in them. So parentheses, open parentheses, followed by 3 digits, followed by a close parentheses, followed by a space, followed by 3 digits, followed by a dash, followed by 4 digits. For line in text. Okay. Line. Let's see. So new line is equal to phone regex dot sub. So the substitution thing is very... So what do we want to replace it with? We want to replace all phone numbers with private. And where are we looking to replace this stuff? We're looking in line. Let's go ahead and print it out to make sure that this is working correctly. Awesome, it's working correctly. So now let's go ahead and write those out. Output dot write new line. The W says basically we want to write a file as opposed to read a file. So now phone results, boom. So notice that these 20-point question, very, very short. if I were to say, if I were to split this up into portions for you know, into a rubric, I'd say 5 points for reading the file, 5 points for creating the regex, 5 points for replacing all of the instances of phone numbers with private, and then 5 points for writing the file. Right, so, 5 points for this plus this, 5 points for this plus this, 5 points for this, and 5 points for this. So you can expect that kind of breakdown for points. So line in text was the line. Literally this line of text, and then this line. And then it went through and it found, so it said, we're going to look at the first line and we're going to go through and see if we can find all the phone regular expressions and replace it, or all the strings that match the regex that we have and replace them with private. Then we go to the next line and do the same. You like using the term line over here. Okay. So let's see. So attempt to solve 3 of these. And then it also said, try some exercises here. Right? These were basically other kind of exam, other kind of here's like, here, we want to try to pattern that matches all these characters. /W plus matches all of them. Continue. Matching digits. Any digit 0 to 9. So ABC define. So I'm not really sure what they wanted, but I mean, that matches everything. Although, in some of the questions I am very explicit saying, .* will not solve this. What do they want? Try typing 1, 2, 3. Oh. So it wants us to match stuff everywhere in the string there. Okay. Matching with wildcards. Right, so these kind of things are very nice to teach. But one of the ones I'm a fan of is this one, Regex Golf, which is a nice little game. You want to write a regex in the box that matches all these suckers, but none of these suckers. So what would match? So what would match something in here, but nothing in here? So if we notice, we've got foot, 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 foo, food, 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 fool, fool, foot, foot, foot. We've got a lot of foos. So, and these, none of these have foo in them. And the way this works is that it is called golf because the number of characters you use on the regex determines your score. The lower is better, of course, because it's golf rules. Anchors. You're deducted 1 point for character you use and 10 if you match something you shouldn't. So let's see over here. So all these, what's common all over here is that they all end with ick. But actually, Kickapoo, so ends with kick. But actually, we can get a bit shorter. Let's go ahead and see. Can we deduct? Oh, they all match with end with CK. About ending with K. Yeah, they all end with K. So we can simply write a regex that matches all these words with these. It never ends. Skip. So match all these, saying to basically not use the $. I think that's a good one to do. What about this one? These test vectors were used grepping users at deck.words. So here, let's go ahead and see what we've got over here. We've got A, B, A, C, A, B, ACC, Accede, Adeed, Babe, Bead, Bebed, Bedad, Bedded, Beded, Bedef, Kabaka. So what can we do that basically So, any suggestions for this one? Any for suggestions for this guy? Come on, certainly someone in the chat has some suggestions. Do you mean not? Or do you mean... Or do you mean it starts with one of these characters? Because putting in this doesn't match any of these guys. So, a back. So, what we're looking for is that these all start with A, B, C, D. Aha. So, let's see. I mean, we could try doing... It starts with A, B, C, D, E, F. And match all of them. But unfortunately, we've got this. 2 of a letter. Well, we've got 2 of a letter over here, but not over here. But notice that basically these ones are only made up of the letters from A to F. And these aren't. So that's it. That took me a second to realize. So, A, B, C, D, E, F, and only be made of those words. Let's see. Sonly. And then from beginning to end. There we go. Although that score was a bit not awesome. So my score was 11. Some people got much lower of a score. Let's see. ABA and back refs. This doesn't really work as a tutorial. You're not really clear as to what you're supposed to do here. So this one uses back references. In other words, using the capture and using /1 to reproduce what you captured. So notice that basically that... So if we look at this, we've got some series in this one. Alcanarily, Anti-Covenanting, Barbary. We've got BAR, BAR. ANTI, ANTI. Right? Mathematics has MAT, MAT. Gala Gala has, well, Gala Gala. So, what we are looking for is some series of letters, all right, which is cool. And then we've got some series of other letters, okay. And then when that series of other, and then we have, let's see, what's that /1 do? Is that no match? So UD, I need at least, let's go with 3 of them. So we're saying, hey, all of these had a sequence of at least 3 letters that were repeated. And then, so what I just did was I did a back reference using /1. I'm not really sure how people get 1 for their answer. I have severe questions about people who managed to get 1. Ah. He's saying that basically that that he went into the page's JavaScript and messed with it. So, anyway, these are very good and very challenging, which is really awesome. So, and it can be quite fun. You can use the back reference in the exam, but you don't have to. None of the questions are going to be difficult enough. Before we go, let's go ahead and go over an actual question that's not going to be on the exam, but one that's very similar to the one that I put on the exam. So let's go ahead and this will be very much like a brother to the one on the exam. So suppose we want to write a regex that matches a certain sequence of strings that follows certain rules. Okay, so we want to write a regex that matches strings that follow that follow these rules. And here are the rules. The strings are so create a regex that matches strings following the rules below. The string is
Ow.
length 6. The string only uses the characters A and B. Okay. Okay.
No.
The string must end with AA. So this is actually fair. This is a bit of an easier one than the ones that are on the exam. But by adding more rules, we can make it harder. So let's think about this. So what is the resulting regular expression that would match something that matches this rules? So we know it needs to end with AA, so we just put AA over here. Okay. And so now what the question is, what are the 4 characters before? Well, they have to be, and we know there has to be 4 characters because we know it's of length 6. So we just create a character class, say AB, and then we say there's 4 of those guys. That question I'd say is worth about 10 points right over there. That's one question. So you're going to get something very similar to that, where I tell you, here are some characters, here are some rules. The OR, let's see. Could we use the OR instead? Regexer. I'm pulling up regexer on Firefox. Give me 1 second. So you're saying, can I use OR like this? A or B for AA. And that will match.
No.
And it shouldn't match that one. But let's see. Yeah, you could do the A or B for instead, like that. Yeah, and you can see that totally works. The fun thing about regex is that there's a lot of right answers. There are a lot of right answers. And also, again, while dot star would match all of these, you don't want to use dot star because I want you to match, because I'll give you some saying it should match this, but not match this. Right? Using dot star will match everything, but it would match all the negative cases as well. All right. Regular expressions are super useful. As far as whether or not they're on the final exam, let me just take a quick look without sharing my screen at last year's final exam to give you some more detail about that. Okay. So there's a bunch of questions that I had. Yes, there's office hours today because there's office hours today. Let's see. On the final exam, I had questions about, there were 22 points so far of regex. on the exam I had about, on the final exam I had about a quarter of the questions being regex. So I would expect maybe a third of the questions to be regex related on the final exam, if not 40%, just depending, because it really just depends on your it really just depends on why so much? 30%? Because they're useful and easy to write. On the final exam, I'll be giving you, and also because some of the questions, I mean, we'll see. I still have to write it. People generally think the final is harder, but I mean, I normally try to keep them at the same difficulty. I will tell you that there will be a question that basically will cover on the final exam that will cover something that we have not covered in class at all. But it will tell you how to solve it. It's literally, here's a new thing. Here's the instructions on how to use this new thing. Here's the problem I want you to solve using this new thing. Go and solve it. Basically, can you learn? And because one of the things we are trying to test is, can you learn? And it's actually quite not a hard question at all. I'll probably try to have a question on like 20 points for turtles. Then maybe I can do 20 points on regex, 20 points on file and string stuff, and so on and so forth. I'll try to make it a fairly short, robust final exam. You know, any extra credit? There are free points on exam 3, and there will be some free points on the final. No, the compute, that would be too much work. I'll just simply say, here's 3 exams, drop the lowest one. For the and the computers and Canvas will figure that out. Canvas will also figure that out for your assignments and the like. So I know what day the final. Okay. So, I've explained this. I'll explain this again because Temple final exam schedule. There's going to be a lab. Yes, if you're happy with the yes, one lab will be dropped. Yes, the if you're happy with the other ones, you can just skip it. Are we going to have a review session? Yes, we'll have to schedule it. Can you put an extra credit on Canvas so you have an idea of the extra credit should already be in there? Oh, yeah. Oh, the extra credit. Yeah, I'll do that. And then do you have any idea what the day of the final is, right? Do you... I've looked it up, but it says it's under 3 our time's under 3 hours, and I'm pretty sure it's a 4-hour course. Right, so 3-hour course... So... Our course is a 4-hour course, but it's a 3-hour lecture, 1-hour lab. And what we're looking at, and what it's putting over here is the lecture hours. So it is this. This is the appropriate one. Ben, I'll be happy to stay after and look at your exam too. Okay. Because I did see your email. Okay. So we've got 2 to 3. So it's this our normal time. So our exam will be Thursday, 4:30 from 1 to 3. Let's see. Any other questions? I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen. Can you demo today? Yes, during office hours. And if you want to arrange for me to, if you want to arrange time to meet with me, or you can send an email to TA to meet them online. So, All right. So I have office hour. I'll have office hours at 4. I'll see you all during the exam. As far, I'm gonna step away, and then I'm gonna leave this, and then I'm gonna so I'm gonna close this meeting, and then I'll reopen it back up, because at least one person wanted to meet with me. Just a way to kick everybody else out. But I'm just gonna go and get some water because I'm getting a little hoarse.
Nick!